Okay, so today going to be making homemade almond butter, and we're going to be flavoring it. So some things that you need: food processor, almonds, measuring cup, a measuring spoon, a spatula, preferably wooden or metal. Do not use rubber as it catches on the blades inside the food processor and chunks off into whatever you're making. So some ingredients that we're going to be using today: cinnamon, honey, vanilla, a little bit of sea salt. Oh, and then finally, you need a container to put your homemade almond butter in. Also, we need a baking sheet and oven. I've preheated my almonds in the oven at 250 degrees for 15 minutes. And what this does is it actually changes the flavor a little bit. I like the roasted flavor better. And it also makes it process a little faster. It helps the almonds release their oils a little bit. I found that it reduces the time for making the butter by about half. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing is I've measured out about 1.5 cups of almonds. And the reason I'm only doing a little bit is because if you're going to mix any kind of liquids with it, this reduces the shelf life greatly. So you only want to make small batches, something that you and your family are going to go through in about a week. And also, if you have a food processor that has multiple settings, like I have this extra bowl, you want to use the bowl for anywhere between 1 to 3 cups of almonds, because if you use the larger bowl, the blades won't reach and it will take quite a bit of work to get it to process. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start by putting all of my almonds into the bowl to get ready to go here. As I process, what's going to happen is this is going to turn into a powder. And once it turns into a powder, eventually the blades will no longer be able to reach the powder because it'll build up on the sides. And that's what the spatula is for, is to push the powder back down. So I'll go ahead and show you how that works. And I'm also going to use the highest setting. And once you see that the blades are having trouble reaching the powder, go ahead and turn it off, and that's when you take your spatula and you just scrape down the sides. Now you'll continue this process for the first 10 to 12 minutes of making your butter, and it's going to look like nothing's happening, but about the 10 to 12 minute mark, the oils in the almonds will start to release, and that's when magic will start to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off for the time being and continue this process of turning on the processor and scraping down the sides until it starts to look like almond butter, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, we're back, and we're about 10 minutes in now, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that the magic is starting to happen here. And as you can see, it's starting to solidify a little bit. And just beginning to see those oils come out and start to look like almond butter. I think from here, before we really start to see it looking the way it should, is another 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to pause and continue the process and come back to you. Okay, so we're now about 17 minutes in, and I'm starting to come up with the beginnings of that buttery texture that we're all familiar with and looking for. So once you get here, it's just a matter of a few more minutes of continuing the process till it's creamy to your desire. So I'm going to probably process another 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'll come back to you and we'll start adding ingredients. Okay, so I'm about 23 minutes in, and I have a nice creamy butter for you. The other part of this is that over the next day or two, as this sits and the oils continue to release, this actually will end up tasting better in a couple of days and have a creamier, oilier texture. But anyway, so now let's talk flavoring. There's no real rule for how much to put in. This really is your personal taste. For a cup and a half, I'm going to start with a little less than a teaspoon, so probably about half a teaspoon of salt. And because I like cinnamon, and as you can see, I keep cinnamon in a mason jar because I buy it in bulk and go through it quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a teaspoon. And then I'm just going to try a squirt of honey. Not too much. And maybe about a half teaspoon of some vanilla extract, just for a little added oomph. And we'll blend that together and then taste and see what I need to adjust. And I did forget to mention, the honey will thicken the butter up quite a bit. So it's great for turning this butter into little candy balls. In fact, I invented the Shako truffle the other night by taking a little bit of the butter, adding some honey, and then rolling it into a little ball. And then taking that ball and rolling it in some Shako, and it made a little truffle. It was really good. Oh, yeah, and I think that's perfect. I'm not going to add or subtract any more ingredients. I am going to give it a couple of mixes just to finish this off, and then I am calling this done. After adding the honey, it took a little bit, but we were able to whip it back into a nice buttery texture that tastes really great. So all that's left to do is put it in my mason jar and call it a day. I hope you enjoyed this. Good luck making it.